All right, there's a lot going on here, so I'm going to kind of talk you through it. I'm just going to take you back to this graph here. So you can see this is the base function, and we have asymptotes at y is equal to 0 and x is equal to 0. Well, let's take a look here. If I'm thinking about this in a transformations mindset, if I move 5 units up, that brings my asymptote to y is equal to 5, because it started at y is equal to 0. And then if I look at this asymptote here, because this was translated 4 units left, it went from x is equal to 0, which is the y-axis, to x is equal to -4. So I drew the asymptotes first, and then I put it into my graphing calculator, and I found the points. So just make sure that when you put it into your graphing calculator, you pay attention to putting brackets around the denominator here. And again, I just went to my table of values, and you can see the pink points on the graph here. Those are my points from the table of values. Now, when you draw your graph, you got to be really careful to not make your graph touch the asymptotes. And when you draw asymptotes on a graph, they always have to be in dotted lines, because they're not actually a part of the graph. We just draw them in dotted lines to help us form the graph properly. Okay, so sketch the graph. We did that. Now we're going to state the domain and range. And again, I'm going to take a look at the domain and range based on what my restrictions are. What can't x equal? Well, it can't equal -4. Other than that, that thing goes infinitely to the left and the right. Range. What can't y equal? Well, y cannot equal 5. And other than that, it goes infinitely up and down. So there's where I get my domain and range. All right, next part, algebraically. Be careful with that word, because you have to show me your work. You cannot use your graphing calculator for this. Determine the x and y intercepts. Well, what do I know about the x-intercept? I know that y is equal to 0, and the y-intercept on the y-axis, I know x is equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the function and my first step is going to be to set y is equal to 0. So and at this point, you can either multiply both sides by x plus 4 or cross multiply, whatever you like. So there we have our x-intercept. I'll choose a different color for the y-intercept. So for the y-intercept, again, I'm going to take the function and I'm going to set x equal to 0. And there we have it. So when we're listing our intercepts, we should do so nicely as an ordered pair. And over here I'll list my x-intercepts, so that would be -4.6, I believe. Excellent.